So my name's Mark Walker from Kaminario, not necessarily a vendor you're probably too familiar with. We manufacture all-flash arrays, and we're part of the trend that several of the other speakers have talked about this morning. We've been in Europe since last autumn, since September really. Now 24 of us, no one on the ground in Ireland yet, but give us time. So we're here in Europe. We've been around in the industry, in the flash market for quite a while, as I'll touch on later on. But just a bit of, start with a bit of validation about the market for flash storage arrays in the data center. Now it's a little bit out of date now, it's almost a year out of date, and I would also say that it's somewhat, but it's a nice succinct way of looking at it. An all-flash array brings massively better performance than traditional spinning disk in an enterprise or in a data center, but with considerably less total cost of ownership. The reasons for that are multifarious, but some of the classic ones: allows service on consolidation, allows reduction in real estate, which brings its own cost savings, and therefore less power, less less management. So a whole raft of benefits that come from moving away from an over-provisioned traditional disk system to an all-flash based architecture. Now, flash has been around in the market for some time. I've been working in the all-flash array market since about 2011, 2012, which kind of makes me a bit of a veteran. So on this graph, where the horizontal axis is time, we're not talking about a very long amount of time, we're talking about maybe 5 years. But when flash first came into the market, the all-flash arrays pioneered by vendors like Violin Memory, notably, it was a very specific use case. It was really expensive, it was about $30 a gigabyte, and it didn't really have much in the way of functionality. It was a bit like a dragster, all it did was go fast, but it had none of the management functionality you would expect, or the data services, and as I said, the cost was very prohibitive unless you were required it for an absolutely mission critical use case. But over time, the functionality of all flash arrays has increased. So again, I'm talking about data services, manageability, the kind of enterprise resiliency that you would expect in an HP 3PAR or an EMC box. And this kind of touches on what Paul was saying in the previous presentation, the cost of flash has come down. There's a few sort of dynamics at work there. There's the flash industry's own version of Moore's Law, where basically every year that goes by you get twice as much for the same money. Also, the fact that more and more flash is out there in the world, is being produced. Again, it's in your smartphones, it's in your tablets. And also, in terms of manufacturers like Kaminario, what we're now doing, and what we have been doing for some time, is reducing putting data reduction technologies in place, notably deduplication and compression, which effectively multiplies the amount of effective capacity you get. So all of those trends, or those two main trends, have happened over the last few years and have reached a point where we can now sort of deploy flash at scale from Kaminario at about $1 per gigabyte. So it's a lot different to $30 a gigabyte than it was back in sort of 2012, 2013. And that sort of inflection point really means that we see the market now as being it enables flash to be used for general purpose storage, because the delta between the price of disk and the price of flash is considerably less than it was. So typically with disk you're talking about maybe 75 cents a gig. As I said, flash was $30 a gig not so very long ago, but now at $1 per gig it very much puts it into the realm of general purpose storage, and that's where we see the market as we currently speak. So again, some more validation from IDC. I actually think this one's a little bit pessimistic, and it's slightly out of date now, in that it says that the flash optimized arrays will make up more than half of all external storage by 2019. I've seen a more recent study that says that's as soon as 2017, and what I see in my day-to-day life, and having been in the flash market for some time, I would go with the sort of earlier date or earlier year. So a little bit about us specifically. We've been around a while. The company was formed in 2008. We've been in production environment since 2010. So we've been in the flash market for quite a while. We're on version 5.5 of the product, so it's very stable, it's very developed. Our HQ is over in the States, all the R&D is done over in Israel, and we've got backing from some of the most prestigious VCs and funders from the Valley and elsewhere. And one thing that's very important to bring Gartner back into the frame and their famous Magic Quadrants, we are, this is actually two Magic Quadrants, 2014 and 2015 overlaid with each other. And what I hope you can see is our progress up and to the right. So we're just knocking on the bottom of the leaders quadrant. The next version of this chart, which is of course quite influential in the kind of enterprise customers where we'd expect to find our customers, is due out quite soon, and we have every reason to believe that we will be again showing good progress and very well positioned for the year ahead. Bit of an eye test slide from my American brethren. A bit about the product. I don't want to go into too much detail. Obviously, we've got the one-to-ones later on, and I'll be delighted to talk about the product in a little bit more detail there. But the things I want you to take away from that are really a few points. I've talked about cost efficiency, and Kaminario is very much leads, or one of our main differentiators is that we are very well priced and very cost effective as compared to our natural competition, which for those of you familiar with the products would be something like EMC's Extreme IO box or Pure Storage with their products. So we're well positioned from a cost perspective, but really it's our ability to scale both up and out. What I mean is you can add capacity, you can add performance in a very linear way by adding what we call a K-block. So one K-block is 250,000 IOPS, 2 is 500, etc., etc. It scales in that very linear way and has got an ability to cope with mixed workloads. And the reason that that's important, or both of those points are important, is that it basically future-proofs and validates a decision that a guy looking to deploy Kaminario in his data center would have, in that no one knows what's around the corner, what's going to happen 3 years down the line. More data, well, that's kind of a given. More users, maybe. Different workloads, different applications. With Kaminario, you can scale, as I said, up and out, capacity and performance, as and when is required. So that is a very important selling point for us. And the ability to cope with mixed workloads with no drop-off in performance is, again, validates the decision and future-proofs that decision. And in fact, when our customers are surveyed as to why they bought Kaminario, the key point that they bring up more than any other is the architecture. And it is unique, scale-up, scale-out architecture. So a little bit about the channel opportunity. What's in it for you? Well, it's 100% indirect two-tier model via our distributor CMS. We guarantee a margin of 15%, but we would expect and hope that you could make more than that. And that's certainly better than competitive brands that I'm aware of, where the margin can be as little as 3% in my experience. The product is effective when up against our competition. We win 90% we win a lot of the POCs we're in, a significant majority. In fact, in Q4 we won 90% of the proof of concepts we were in against the big A-brand vendors, HP, EMC, etc. And we have a partner program. The barriers to, or should I say, the requirements to be a Kaminario partner are not onerous at all. We don't have any partners in Ireland right now. We've built a decent partner base over in the UK. This really kicks off our engagement with the Irish reseller community. All you really need to do is get one or preferably 2 sales and SEs trained. Training can be done in any one of a number of formats. Obviously we'll come and see you and do it that way. You can do it online and then do a multiple choice test at the end. Probably takes about 30 minutes per individual, or we could do it via a webinar. A techie would do it, or a salesperson would do it for you. And that opens up and the slides got a little bit mangled with the icons, but what it opens up is additional potential rebate opportunity for you guys for hitting volume targets, which are not too stretchy, and for hitting or for selling into new customers. And frankly, in Europe, most of our customers at this stage are new. As a final incentive, or should I say as an incremental incentive, we incentivise you to get us meetings and specifically to get us POCs. The challenge we face as a new vendor is that nobody's ever heard of us. So that is the challenge, but we know that when we get in front of people, we win most of the time. So it's worth us incentivizing you guys to get us into your customers. Whether the POC or the meeting results in a sale is somewhat academic, we will pay you €250 per end user meeting booked, and if it results in a POC, that's €2,500. Again, whether it's ultimately successful or not, via a credit card mechanism. That's me done. Hopefully I've got some one-to-ones with you guys, some of you guys later on, so I can go into it in a little bit more detail. And I believe then I'm handing over to Alex from Red Hat.